You watched it so many times before, and now you're gonna watch it again. But it's been so many years since you last saw it, and now you show it to your friends, and they're like, what?
What am I watching?
Why this?
What is
What?
this?
Why?
Why
this film?
And I'm joined today by Naomi. Hello!
Hello, darling. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm absolutely brilliant. I'm really happy to be talking to you. I love this show so much. So let's get it.
I love it. Thank you so much. You're such a supportive fan. I'm so happy to finally bring you on here because I know you've been trying to come on for a while and I've been like, oh, I'm just so busy. Flick hair. But we're finally here. It's so exciting because the movie you have chosen is Dhoom 2. It came out in 2006. The IMDb breakdown. Mr. A fearless thief, steals valuable artifacts and teams up with the girl he is attracted to, but who cannot be trusted. Close on their heels are 3 police officers trying to apprehend them. Why this film?
So, I mean, on a personal level, I'm mixed and I grew up with so many different cultures in my house and in my area. So, Bollywood has been a huge part of my life since I was a child. And in terms of a greater level, if I divorce myself from that as an actress and someone who loves film, when I tell you this film was lightning in a bottle when it came out, it was huge. It's still today, I think it's still the 12th highest grossing Bollywood film of all time. It is massive. And it just was, even if you watch the film, regardless of whether you like it or not, stylistically, with the casting, with the music, it all really comes together really, really well. So it's just a fun little joyride, which we need right now more than anything.
Oh my God, it's so fun. So listeners of the show may know I've done Lagan in the past, which I loved. And I think when I watched it, I was like, God, I really need to watch more Bollywood. Because I think I watched Bride and Prejudice when I was in uni and I was like, and just sort of wrote Bollywood off. And then I was introduced to Lagan, which was a big dramatic, Oscar epic type movie. And I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. Why don't more movies just break into song and dance all the time? What is happening? So then when you said Dhoom 2, I was really excited because I was like, oh yes, finally, more Bollywood. And I was reading the plot and I was like, oh, okay, so it's sort of like a crime caper. I didn't really know. And I couldn't really gauge much from the poster. And I was like, okay, we'll see what's going on. I had such a good time watching this movie.
Isn't it great?
It's on Amazon Prime. Go and watch it right now. You don't need to see Dhoom 1, but I will be going back and watching Dhoom 1, but it doesn't have these 2 actors in it, so I may just watch this one again because it is just incredible. And I joked before we came on the air, where was this movie when I was a teenager? If I'd have had this when I was 14, I don't know. I think I might have become a different person entirely because it's just so up my street. Into the main characters are basically the villains.
Oh yeah, I love that.
They're the most attractive people you've
good Lord
ever seen in your entire life. And they're playing basketball in the rain. And I was like, is this on? Should this be this attractive? Is this legal?
Oh my gosh. So let me tell you something. Hrithik Roshan, who is the star of this movie, and I mean, we can kind of go into a conversation about who's the protagonist and antagonist because I have thoughts.
Yes.
But he really is, especially at that time, was such, I mean, he still is. I mean, he's still one of the biggest stars in Bollywood, and he's definitely, as you've seen in the film, one of the best dancers in Bollywood, for sure.
God.
For sure. But he had just come off of doing Krish, which was the first kind of Indian superhero movie. So he was still kind of riding on that wave. And then you put him in this movie, which is already a successful franchise. And he's playing this sexy kind of Thomas Crown, Robin Hood meets Danny Ocean-esque character. And he is just, every person I have shown this movie to has walked away saying, I want that man to have my children.
Oh
and
my God.
I really can't complain. I have to agree.
Genuinely, but honest, he skydives in. I mean, let's just get into the opening scene. We're on, it's 2006, and we're on a train in the middle of the Nairobi desert.
Yep.
We're in the middle of the desert, and there's just a freight train on this line. And we go in, and the Queen of England is there with Harry as a 7-year-old. and they're celebrating Harry's birthday. That's just wonderful. There's someone that comes from England, obviously, like, you know, the royal family. I love seeing how they're depicted by other in other films and other cultures. And
you know what I realized with that is that Harry would have been like 20 in 2006.
Yeah.
So I don't know which alternate universe this is in.
Honestly, it's so funny. And she's like a fun-loving like grandma that's like, let's pretend to steal the crown jewels on this train. Like, it's just immediately it set the tone for this movie, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be fun. Oh, I'm gonna have a good time. And he skydives. He jumps out of a moving like helicopter onto this moving train in the middle of the desert, and it zooms in on his face, and I was like, oh my god, I'm in love. What is this where did this person come from? Why haven't I seen? And like, if you haven't seen a picture of him, I was gonna say he looks a little bit like Dan Stevens, but I would more say that Dan Stevens looks like him, because this man is superior in every single way. And he disguises himself as the Queen of England. He steals the crown of the crown jewels, and he's on top of this moving train, and he rips the Queen's face off his, and you get to see his lovely face again. And then he like escapes in the middle of the desert on a moving train. And I was just like, you would never get this in the like West, in like American cinema. They would never go this far, and it is to their detriment. Like, they suffer because they don't push this, they don't do this. And then we go into like a sewer basement where everyone's in like cool clothes, and they're doing like the theme song, and they're all like dancing, and I'm like, Fast and Furious would be so much more interesting if they broke into song and dance more often. Do
you know what? The Fast and Furious movies are so like bombastic. I think apparently they're going to space in the next one. I honestly wouldn't be surprised. To be honest. I love it though. I think that's the wonderful thing though, because even in that opening scene and to the opening number, which is the Dhoom song, you immediately know what you're getting. And it kind of, especially the song, it kind of frames itself as like a prologue, because you're not going into this for like Ibsen level realism. You're going into this for escapism. And stylistically with that opening scene, you know what you're getting, and you're just in it, and you're having fun, and it's the action and the adventure of it. And yeah, I just think it's, it's designed to make you feel good. And I think that's what it does.
100%. And the genre that it calls itself is like comedy action. If you were to think of something like that, that would come out of America or even England, you would think more something starring Will Ferrell, where he's like a clumsy, super, like Johnny English, I guess. But
oh God.
Which, is a fine film as like, that's comedy action, but this is comedy action where it's legitimate action and legitimate comedy like coming together. And it's just, but like, what's wonderful about Bollywood, I've found in my very rare viewings of it, is that they are able to mix so many genres together, but they're able to do it with such style and class. And when they say you're getting that genre, you do get that genre, and you get that genre properly. And the mixture of it just adds so much to the film. Like, it just weighs it and makes it worth more. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Well, the thing is, this type of film is technically classified as a masala film. So a masala film is a film that is incorporating different genres. So like a really good film as well for that is a film called Om Shanti Om with Shah Rukh Khan, where it's like this kind of paranormal Bollywood satire meets romantic drama meets reincarnation plot. Like, it's all over the place, but it works so well within the frame. And I think as well, that's, the culture, Indian culture is bright, it is vibrant, it is colorful, it is full of life and wonder. And it has all these, I think one of the things I really love about this is it kind of deconstructs, I think, a lot of the myths that I think the West still kind of has about India, like Indian women are submissive, Indian men can't be sexy, India, all the dramas are like really kind of big, busty, romantic dramas. And no, this is such an accessible film for anybody. And it's, and the characters are all, they're all confident, they're all successful in their career. And what I love is that they're kind of this interesting balance of kind of Indian ideals, but with the kind of modern contemporary flavor as well. It is very, very different from Lagan, but I think that's the wonderful thing. You get that spectrum.
For sure.
And that's what Indian film is. I mean, we shouldn't treat any kind of Eastern or foreign quote unquote film with any less due diligence than we would, a French film or a Spanish film. They're multi-layered, multifaceted experiences.
Yeah, exactly. And I wonder where the sort of thing comes from, because you're right, like you very rarely see the Bollywood movies, which isn't it the biggest film industry in the world, Bollywood?
Yeah, it is.
And like you never see them contenders for Oscars or BAFTAs or anything like that. I think Bride and Prejudice might have snuck in, it like came over and was quite big in the West, but only because it was based on a well-known Western book or whatever. And honestly, they're so good. They're not. And like people may get duped over by the bright colors or the song and singing and the dancing, which again is insane, because in the early 2000s when this came out, the West was having a renaissance of musicals, with Moulin Rouge sweeping the Oscar, then Chicago sweeping the Oscar, and so they were fully in that vibe. So I don't know why this never came over in a bigger way. It absolutely baffles me. I love the saturation of this movie. It's like watching one of the Drew Barrymore Charlie's Angels. They've just the color right up, and I friggin' love it, because I'm so sick of watching movies, especially action movies. They tend to, whether it's because they often use a lot of CGI, so they have to like darken the screen so you don't notice that it's CGI or whatever, but they're often so dark and dank and grim and just like badly lit. And this was just like poof, like everything is bright colors, everyone's wearing a different color, and it's gorgeous, and it's just so enjoyable to watch because you can see everything. And you're right about the characters as well, they're also individual, and but they're also fleshed out. And I really got so there's a police officer, Jay, and then I think he's just allowed a companion, Ali, to be a police officer as well. So you think they're going to be so we'll go into the main character, who's the main character of this movie. So you think they're going to be the main characters because they, from what I understood, they appeared to be the main characters of the previous movie, and this is their sequel. But the first character we meet is Mr. A, which in most movies would indicate, even though it's a sort of prologue, that he is the main character. And to be honest, I was rooting for the villains in this movie.
Absolutely, completely. Well, the thing is, I've just started doing this online writing course where we have to break down like the components of a plot and the film. And this is when and I did Dhoom 2 for it. And this is when it really hit me that A is the main character. And I don't know if it's because, Horrific is such a big star and they wanted to push that, but it's like every plot beat, the inciting action, the act one twist, it all happens to or by A.
Yes.
So, and he's the one who gets the character arc. He's the one who develops by the end of the story. And to be really honest, when I was talking to people about it, I think a big part of it is I think he's an interesting character, but I also think as well, I don't know, watching him from modern day, I think there is a little bit of reticence towards the police, and the way that Jay, I think, can sometimes be very trigger happy and very sort of, very, very aggressive and almost violent, especially towards Ali, who's supposed to be his friend. Oh, and I cannot stress enough that there is only one victim in this movie, and that is Jay's pregnant wife.
Oh my God.
Disappears from the plot.
She just vanishes. Honestly, I thought the same, and I was looking it up, and she seemed to have been a character in the first movie that I assume hooks up with Jay at the end of that movie.
So she's his wife. She's married to him in the first film, and then she's a fairly larger role, but in this movie, I don't know if it's because the actress didn't have time, but I think she's only in that one scene or two scenes.
She's literally in like two scenes at the beginning, and I was like, we'll go back to Jay and we'll see his newborn baby, and then that will be the end of the movie.
Nope.
Nah. Same with the like weird relationship that he has with Shonali. They introduced this female cop who like knew Jay from college, and there's all this talk of like, oh, are you gonna have an affair because your wife's pregnant? And he gets on really well with this woman, and it's all a bit ooh la la. And then we just go to Rio de Janeiro and meet her twin sister instead.
Do you know when I was younger? And this is credit to Bipasha Basu, who's an incredible actress. I didn't realize it was the same actress. I thought it was someone completely different.
I had that thought. It was only because I was on IMDb and she's got like Shonali / Monali that I was like, oh, it is the same actress, because you're right. She's completely 180 of the character that we just come from, and not in a basic way. She's really thought about who this character is compared to who the previous character was, and like her hair is a slightly different color, and she wears different color like types of clothing and stuff, but she moves differently and she talks differently, and like it really is testament to her acting that it's a dual part.
Well, I think the thing as well with Shonali and Manali, I love their names. I love, and like you said, I love the transformation. I love it when actors play two characters on the screen and you see the physical difference, but there's still little traits that make you see they're related.
Yes.
But one thing I did think about was with Shonali, I don't entirely know why she's in the plot, to be super honest. I don't really feel she affects anything. But I was talking about it the other day with some friends when we watched it. I think the reason Manali is in there and probably why they had that dual role is Bollywood and Indian cinema, as you know, is very conservative. And, you know, even the kiss, which happens later between A and Suneri, that caused quite a stir when it came out. It was quite controversial.
Me, so I understand.
I mean, didn't it for everybody? I mean, they're gorgeous together.
Oh, goodness.
But I think, you know, if you take out that character of Monali, the sister, you have a relationship between A and Suneri, which is very, very sexually charged. And I don't think that would have been right or appropriate for the movie. So I think by giving Ali a love interest, it gives him something to do, because to be honest with you, he's not really framed as being A's threat. It's all J and A and that's it.
Yeah.
And it also kind of still telegraphs to the audience that A and Suneri are falling in love, but you also, you know, you keep the innocence there and you keep the kind of lightness, because those stares alone between A and Suneri could like incinerate a screen.
Oh
so
goodness, you know. Like genuinely, like I've not seen that much chemistry since I can't even tell you when. I think that's a really good point. Yeah, it keeps the sort of light-hearted relationship going, and you're rooting for him, you know, because he wanted to get with Shonali, who has this again weird, who knows if he ever, that's a whole other movie if Jay and Shonali hook up, like who actually knows if that ever happens. Because just sort of halfway through, we're just sort of like, okay, we're bored of them. We're just going to focus on these two great people now. Which is fair
in Brazil.
Because, to be honest, I only noticed it when it finished. I was like, oh yeah, whatever happened to that pregnant wife? Because for a while I was like, oh, she's my favorite character because she's really funny and like this is really nice to see. But then I got so whisked up in the romance of the villains that I was like, yeah, this is great. Just keep showing me them. Like,
but are they villains though? Because that's the whole conversation. Are they villains? Because I mean, I would argue. So there was an interview. I think it was with the screenwriter. He screenwrote the first two, wrote the first two, and then he directed the third. And one of the things he was saying is that Suneri is actually framed as a hero because she is a girl from the working class, and you see that in the way that she kind of talks and the way she presents herself. And she's a girl who's aspiring to more. And A again is a character who has arc and he has a motivation, and he, you know, he's not a villain in the sense that he's not malicious. Like he's not stealing because, you know, he wants to kill somebody or anything. He's stealing because he's an artist, and he's framed very romantically, you know, in that sense. So, and then you compare him with Jay, who again, like I said, is very aggressive and who is very kind of rigid and very much filling the cop role. And I honestly do think the movie makes A and Suneri the protagonist. I don't think it is Jay and Ali's movie. And in a way, I think this movie is the best of the three because of that, because it still has that balance. The first movie, it's very focused on Jay and Ali and developing that relationship. But I think, in my opinion, to the detriment of the villain played by John Abraham. And then in the third movie, it's the complete opposite problem where there's so much emphasis on the villain played by Amir Khan. Well, villain. How can I say it without spoiling it? Yeah, we'll say villain.
Okay.
Villain played by Amir Khan, that Jay and Ali are very almost like supporting characters in this plot, which is focused on them. So I think this movie gets the balance right. But I'm with you. I do think I think the movie deliberately says A and Suneri are the heroes, are the anti-heroes, you know. And there's this sort of like morality question going on within the plot, because several times you notice, like, for example, Suneri's having that conversation with Jay when she's in Brazil and she's sort of betrayed A, and she's like, you know, you're going to honor our deal and let me go. And he's very kind of shady about it. And she says, you know, A may be a thief, but at least he's honest. You're a cop and you're not. And it's sort of like, where is the gray line? And I think that's sort of an interesting argument to present in a film like this.
Definitely. It's really interesting. And I think the reason the film is so intriguing and the main characters are so compelling is because they are anti-heroes. It's Batman and Catwoman all over again. It's like these people that are willing to ride the law opposite these people that, you know, are the law, essentially. And like, that's more fascinating because then the choices and the stakes are much higher, because it's like, are you going to throw it all away for the next big thing, or are you truly in love, and like why are you breaking the law, and like how did you end up in these situations, and is it through any fault of your own, or was it choices, was it circumstances? And that's a lot more compelling than the just sort of like generic evil person who wants to take over the world, or the generic hero that is just gonna be super trigger happy. And I think Shonali as well, I was really shocked the amount of shots we have of her shooting. She's like introduced at a gun range. The last time we ever see her before like she's in the hospital is like at a gun range. Like she's just constantly shooting. She's like, here's a gun. Guns never lie. Like guns are my best friend. Like guns are great. Like we should just kill everyone. I was like, bloody
very
hell.
Michelle Rodriguez vibes, in fact. And the thing is, she doesn't put up with any of Ali's, like, because Ali's kind of interesting, because you sort of view Ali, he's meant to be the comedic side character, but there are times when he is a little, especially post Me Too, he is very kind of in your face, and
oh my goodness,
and she doesn't put up with any of it. Like every time he gets close to her, she's like, gun over here, you over there. Yes. And I think it's so fascinating. It's so interesting.
Yeah, it is. And then to give this much more easygoing twin sister, but they're not making the statement of like, look, this girl is way more chill, and therefore like Ali's going to be with her because like you just need to be chill. Like they're not rewarding Ali. They're just being like, you will find someone that thinks the same as you. You don't have to go, because he was trying to go out of his way to be different, to force her to like him. He even says it. He's like, don't worry, sweetie, I'll make her fall in love with me so she doesn't have an affair with your husband. And that it was always tinged with that. Whereas when he meets her twin sister, it's very much like they're on equal grounds when they meet, and they have a genuine equality with their relationship. And so he's not rewarded for being a creep, which is good.
Yes, you get a love story, and everybody gets a love story.
The love story between the main two, though, I'm just going to call them the main two now.
Oh yeah.
God, where do we even
begin?
Like,
I mean, I think we all learned a valuable lesson that you can find true love in a club.
Yes.
I mean, that's all you need to do, really. Where was that when we were in high school?
Right? When we were going to clubs, like none of that. All of my notes by the end are just hearts. So right near the end, we're skipping around a bit, but it's fine. Right near the end, they have a whole, God, I mean, that whole third act is just so incredible. He's found out that she's betraying him and like working for the cops, but he genuinely is in love with her and asks her to kill him. They play this warped game of like Russian roulette where she proves to him, but it sounds, when I'm saying it and on paper it sounds so silly, but it really isn't. I was fully invested. I genuinely thought at any point either of them would get shot in the face.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Which is so perfect, because then when neither of them are shot in the face and they confess their love for each other, and then they have that illegal kiss.
Oh yeah,
it's like taken to court because it's so controversial. You're with them for the rest of the movie, and you're just
well, I think that's the benefit of it, because you know the concept on paper is so, like you said, bombastic and silly, but I think what really sells it is that every actor in this movie, aside, well, I take Uday Chopra as well as Ali, but he's obviously there as comedic relief, but he commits to that comedic relief. Every actor in this movie, they're not hamming it up. They're committing to it, and they're taking it seriously, and they're working on that connection. They're not phoning it in just because of the genre. And because of that, you feel invested. And with that Russian roulette scene, you know, it is very tense, and you do sort of cringe, especially because it's been foreshadowed so many times in the plot, like, oh, he'll kill you, oh, he'll do this, or he'll do that, even though we never actually do see him kill anybody. But I think, again, it's that way of adding tension, and it ramps up the stakes even more. And so by the end of the movie, when you're going into that final heist and that final climax, you are on the edge of your seat, because you know that there's so much more now for these characters than just, you know, I want to steal this and we can go away and have money. It's like, there is someone I am literally willing to die for in this situation. And that's something that even in some action movies today, we don't get that level of nuance and depth. So there is a lot to appreciate in that.
Yeah, it's so true. And just adding that additional layer, just as you say, makes all of the action and the tension so much higher and much more enjoyable to watch and fully invested. And I didn't know where this movie was going. I couldn't figure it out. And so they built it up and built it up that, like, if you love me, you will kill me. And it's all very warped and romantic. And even as I was watching it, I was like, no, don't fall into that Romeo and Juliet trap. You're better than this. And then it builds to this brilliant fight scene on top of a waterfall. Like, it's just amazing. And she turns up, and I was like, oh no, is she gonna like betray him again? Or like, is she gonna be killed? And then he's like, if you love me, you would kill me. And she shoots him, and he falls off the side of the waterfall. And I was like, no! God damn it, like, I knew this probably had to happen because in theory he's a criminal and has to pay for his crimes, but with his life? Like, come on, just go round up all the coins he's stolen and save him. And then there's like, in that very brief sort of like 6 months later shot, my brain was like, come on, like, please just have like a post-credit scene maybe that's like, she goes to his body afterwards and he's still alive and like she cares for him and like they're living in a cave somewhere, or like they just have to be together. Like, this can't end like this. This is so sad. Like, please just like somehow explain to me that they're okay. And immediately after, they're like, hey, don't worry about it, they're okay. And I was like, yes.
Because you root for them. I mean, Aishwarya and Hrithik, I think, have beautiful chemistry. I mean, they've done a couple of films before. They've done Jodha Akbar, which I really recommend if you've got it on Netflix. It's about one of the Mughal emperors and his wife, and it's a whole big thing because he was a Muslim and she was a Hindu, and that caused a lot of controversy. It's a beautiful movie. I really recommend that. But it's like, not just obviously the physical compatibility, because my God, but I think even the way the characters are written, they make each other better. And that's what you want in any relationship, be that in a rom-com, in an action movie, because she is very, like, you know, she is very working class. She is very kind of scrappy and bubbly, and he's very composed and very together. And like, you see it in the scenes in Brazil where like she wants to eat a burger and he wants to eat a salad, and he's on the computer teaching her things, and she's making him dance and things like that. And so you really get this sense that this is an established relationship and there is a connection here, and they're going to come out of this on the other side better people. And I think, without giving Dhoom 1 and Dhoom 3 away, I think these characters earn their happy ending. I think you feel like that there is, you feel happy with that denouement.
Very much so. And even when it looked like everything was fine, and then Jay obviously hunts them down and finds them in, because they're basically, it's adorable, they're running a restaurant. He's the chef and she's the waitress, and I genuinely want that as my life. And it's genuinely really tense. Like, you have this wonderful relief that he's alive, and what was kind of great was that they didn't bother going back and explaining, like, there was no sort of like rewind of like, and the fake bullets, and he knew to like blah blah blah. You just assume, like, you've seen them jump off cliffs a million times before, you've seen them shoot and know how to get bullets out of guns a million times before, so you can put it all together and you don't need to be shown that. So then you can have a wonderful application of imagination as to how they managed to get away with it. And then Jay hunts them down, and I was like, fuck, no, like, are they going to go to prison together? Because, like, at least they're in this together. And then he lets them go. And, like, I was really, again, it was usually when you watch movies, especially genre movies, and, like, you can't help, if you watch a lot of them, to sit there and just try and, like, second guess what's going to happen, because that is part of the enjoyment as well. But I was so swept up in this movie. I was just going along with the ride, and I was like, oh my God, are they going to go to prison? Are they going to be set free? Like, what's going to happen? And he was like, to me, both of you are dead. So of course this place is open. Come on in, tourists. So I was like, he's going to let them get into restaurants.
I just love, because at the end of the day, love wins. Who cares if it's a 180 on your character? Love wins, everybody. Make it happen.
It's like, you taught me a valuable lesson, which is again why I thought we would see him be reunited as a very happy family man with a newborn child, because he's learned these lessons from this relationship that he's witnessed over these few months. But no, sweetie's out the movie.
I mean, he was having like if not a physical affair, an emotional affair with the con. I don't think Jay is the moral high ground in this movie.
Not at all. He's so grumpy. Like
Oh,
even
I know.
his singing voice is like a much more gruff, deeper. It always took me aback every time he sang. The song and dance pieces.
Oh, ooh, we can go in.
They're
So well choreographed.
good.
They are brilliant. They are absolutely brilliant. Some of my favorite music in a Bollywood film.
Honestly,
They're brilliant.
I went to have a shower after I watched it and I was like, Spotify, Doom 2, let's go. Like, dangerous in the shower because I definitely ended up slipping about. But it's like, it's so good. And I know it's obvious to say like musicals do this all the time where they use songs to progress character development and arcs and plot points. But because you don't see it in because I wouldn't call Bollywood a musical in that sense. It's its own thing. And I'm just like, please, can we get, and I know there's a whole cinema of it out there that we shouldn't have to recreate it just for the Western audience. We should just be able to play the original movies over here. But you know what these people are like. And like, why don't they try the structure of it and just make like an Oscar worthy brilliant genre movie and put songs in it, but it's not a musical.
But I think that's also about the culture as well, though, because again, Bollywood is reflective in many aspects of Indian culture, you know, in that sense of the community and music and dances. So even down to like Hinduism and the religions and everything, it is so much part of the culture. And so I think that style works because it is their story and their narrative, the same way that, you know, Western musicals like Phantom or Moulin Rouge, the way that they construct the musical numbers work for them. But I do agree in the sense of like there should be joy and buoyancy. But honestly, the solution to it is just continue to promote international film. And thank God for the rise of streaming services, because we are getting this influx of music and film and TV and other media from all over the world. Like, I mean, the biggest pop band of last year was a Korean band.
Yeah.
You know, so there is so much more globalization happening that I think there is a space now more so than there was in 2006 when I was growing up to appreciate Bollywood and Indian cinema for what it is and to celebrate it. Yeah. And so, but yeah, the musical numbers in this film are amazing.
Oh my goodness. Because also like they'll turn around and be in like a completely different like costume, and they'll always have like a huge ensemble of dancers behind them, and I just find myself gripped to their like body movements and the athletic professional way that they like move and interact with each other. And on top of that, they're singing, and you know it's like their real singing voices. So it's like, yes, Dan Stevens, you're hot, but like this guy can also dance and sing. And
well, it's playback, so it's another singer singing, and they're miming, so it's a playback singer. But but it's still, although I think Hrithik can sing. I think he's sung in something, but they're all playback singers. But completely to your point, and what I love about that is in every song, like you said, it's there to kind of supplement for the emotion. But it's also, you know, they are really well executed pieces, like Crazy Kiare, which is my favorite one in the whole bunch, where Scenery in the club, and apparently with multiple outfit changes, just which is incredible. Like I will cosplay a Scenery at some point in my life because those outfits are gorgeous.
Oh my god!
But you know, like, you know, it's a fun number and it's an accessible number, and at the same time, we know why this number is in here. It's not in here for a random reason. It's in here to connect how she and A go from being like, oh, I'm kind of attracted to you, but I work alone because I'm Batman, but a Bollywood version, to like, oh, wow, damn. Yeah, I'm kind of feeling this. So we're going to go and
we're going to go
partnership now. Be partners in life. Oh, it's so cute. But like, it works for the plot and you're still swept up in it and you're still enjoying it. And it's a really fun, it's a great number. I mean, out of all the songs in there, what one was your favorite?
Genuinely, I loved the opening number.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh yeah, Bollywood sing and dance. And the way it was in this like bizarre, like Rent-esque sort of basement, and it's like 2006. So everyone's in the like early 2000 type costumes where they're kind of like club wear that's kind of grimy, but still kind of bright. And just the whole aesthetic of it and the way that like the particular dance moves that they were using, just everything about it, I was just like, yes. But then they all have such wonderful things. Like, I think they are meant to be at their school reunion when you've got the like trio love song happening. The one at the like carnival where all 4 of them are coming together, which again, like you're looking at it and you're like, why would these 4 people be in the same place at the same time and not interact? Like that doesn't make any sense plot wise, but it even makes it sense plot wise because you know that those 2 characters have already clocked each other and had a whole conversation, and that like everyone's aware of everyone in the vicinity, but they're all able to come together and sing this number about love.
And it's all character driven. That's the thing. Like it's all especially in that song that you talk about, the Nagana, you know, every single character is singing about their particular experience. So like all the lyrics that A are singing are about how don't trust anybody because he's just found out Suneri's betrayed him, and Suneri's singing love is like a fire, and Jay is singing like who knows if we'll have this moment again, being very cryptic. Like they're all working for the character and they're all stating where they are, and I love it because like as an actor, as you'll see as well as you are as well, you know, it's like the perfect scene because everybody's objectives are clear, but everybody's obstacles are there. And, you know, everybody's trying to use different tactics to intimidate each other and work each other out. And like, sometimes A and Scenario are connecting, and sometimes he's angry at her because he feels betrayed. And sometimes him and Jay are having a moment. And sometimes Jay's just like, Ali, shut up.
Yeah.
You know, it's everybody's
so
working in the scene. There's multiple layers going on. Like that's the thing about Indian cinema. It is rich, it is complex, there are so many layers going on here, and it's enjoyable.
Oh, it's so
enjoyably complex.
It's so good, it's so well done. I loved every single one of them. Whenever there was like a very obvious like lead in line where it's like, and we're gonna sing now, and inevitably like someone turns around in a different outfit and the like music starts up, I was like, fucking yes, like resettle myself, like let's go. Like it made me want to dance, it made me want to get up and just like try out some like moves. It's
do
beautiful. They move their body so wonderfully, and like that's really interesting that you said they're dubbed over, which I respect and appreciate so much. The most recent thing of that is the Eurovision movie with Will Ferrell and Rachel McAdams.
Oh, I loved it. I thought it was
such a great movie, and it's really pushed and made better by the fact that they go back to that 1930s Singing in the Rain. If you can't sing or you can't sing well enough, you're going to get dubbed. Like, I'm sure Dan Stevens has a fine voice, I'm sure Rachel McAdams has a fine voice, but they dub them over with professionals, and the whole experience is so much better because you know, because you're listening to a professional sing a song. And
exactly.
the ears of Tom Hooper's Les Mis and Emma Watson's Beauty and the Beast, I'm just so over it. I'm like, you had your fun, can we please stop this now?
Because it takes you out of it as well, because you're not able to get swept up in the story, especially with Western musicals, where the music is so paramount to further the narrative, especially in something like Les Mis where it's pretty much all sung through, because you're distracted by, you know, maybe a note not sounding right, or maybe, you know, or even just, it might not even necessarily be that they're a bad singer, their voice just doesn't suit who that character is and the way that character is being presented to you. Whereas again, like you said, with Bollywood and with old musicals, completely agree with you, you know, they find singers who work for the character and who will bring that kind of energy the character needs. And I don't think there's any shame in it.
No,
I don't think there's any shame in it whatsoever.
Not at all. And I think perhaps there was, or it did become such, or like, you know, the whole plot of Singing in the Rain is like, let the real voice sing instead of dubbing the superstar. But no, absolutely not. Like, listening to the Eurovision and watching the Eurovision movie is made a million times better, because you know that like when they start to sing, it's gonna sound amazing. And you're right, you're therefore not distracted by Amanda Seyfried going no.
Although I did love in Eurovision the scene where they where you have all the former like Eurovision acts come on, and it's just like, oh, it's Conchita, oh, it's Loreen, oh yay, my childhood.
The guy with like the violin that hasn't aged in like 12 years.
Oh, I know, he looks amazing. They all look so good. You're like, oh,
so good. It's so enjoyable. And like, yeah, and it's the same here where everyone sounds beautiful and they look beautiful. I mean, that what is that actress's name? I'm not going to be able to pronounce it. Who plays Suneri?
Aishwarya Rai.
Beautiful. She is gorgeous. My friend has whenever we do like, let's go to YouTube and play some clips, she's always like, oh, we should watch that one. It's from Devdas. Is that how you?
Yes, Devdas. Oh,
where where she's got the candle that she's lit because
well, this is the thing, she is a phenomenal actress, and she just come off doing Bride and Prejudice, and she was told for this role she had to lose weight and she had to kind of study Catwoman from Batman, which you kind of see a bit in her physicality a little bit. And, you know, again, she brings this really, she is beautiful. And that is, you know, a selling point. I think there's sometimes a conversation in acting about, oh, you know, we shouldn't focus on the physical. And I completely agree. But I think sometimes if you have an actress who is incredibly beautiful, I don't think there's something wrong, which is why I love Bollywood, where they don't hide that, but they don't use that as an excuse to substitute for talent. Exactly. She is where she is today. And I think she's still the biggest Bollywood actress in the world because she is phenomenally talented. And to play that character who is sexy, but also has to be really goofy and kind of bubbly, it takes an actress who has considerable skill to do that. And, you know, and I mean, of course, the camera loves her, but the camera loves her in part because of her talent. And she's so good in this.
And yeah, it's that genuine willingness to act and not just like strut about in front of the camera being gorgeous. Like she doesn't let her looks do the job for her. She also puts in the work, and I really got that because I'm used to seeing her in this clip from Devdas. I have seen her in Bride and Prejudice, and like she is completely different in all of them. She has range. I really got even with subtitles, I really got the character coming through of the way she constantly says like and eats burgers and stuff, this sort of goofy character, which is again was so lovely because she so easily could have been Catwoman and just been sultry and sexy and like called it a day. But again, because she has this added layer to her personality, you root for their relationship even more because you know that they're exposing their true selves to each other and they're real people. And like, yeah, she's utterly gorgeous, but you're right, she's also a phenomenal actor. And if she wasn't, then I don't think she necessarily would have gotten very far. And it's really good that you can, as you say, appreciate what she looks like, and you know as well that she's putting in so much hard work and that she is talented.
Absolutely. And I think as well, oh my gosh, yeah, like horrific, like if you see his range, like watch any of the films he has on Netflix or anything, he can really do it all. Like I was saying to my mum the other day, you know, this man he is a superstar in Bollywood. He doesn't need to come to Hollywood at all. None of them do, and none of them should, because they're all wonderful in their field. But like, if he ever came to Hollywood, he would be probably one of the biggest actors in the world because he literally can do it all. And he, even as an actor in all of his work, he is so different. Like you have something like War where he's more kind of aggressive, and then Jodha Akbar where he's playing like this very prince character, and Kabhi Khushi Kabhie Gham, when, you know, all these wonderful, wonderful films. But the thing I really found interesting about the way that the characters are written in this movie is there is an argument to be made that, you know, Bollywood as it's evolved, you know, especially like when compared to Lagan, you know, we are getting a rise of non-residential Indians, NRIs, in the world. And so, you know, we are seeing more films that are using a lot more English, you know, they're using a lot more kind of Americanization or Westernizations. And you see that with characters like Saneri. But what I love is that it doesn't feel like they're trying to appeal to a Western audience. It feels like it's something that's ingrained in these characters. And this is the culture that they've been raised in, because India is becoming a superpower in the world. And, you know, it is this idea of like, they're coming together and they're embracing these, you know, these Western ideals, but they're still keeping the essence of who they are still there. Because again, like with the kiss and the way they interact, it's sexy, but it's not, you don't feel like they're just going to jump all over each other. No, I mean, they should.
It's going to be a sex scene as much as we would have enjoyed that.
Although we get the basketball scene in the rain, so we get pretty close.
A sex scene. And like, I think it's better than a lot of sex scenes I've ever seen in movies, to be fair. So
I mean,
yeah, completely. Such a good point. Absolutely. Like, I didn't feel like they were trying to emulate anything. It felt almost like they'd invented it. It was just, it worked so well in what they were doing. What was I gonna say? I'm distracted by his abs in my head now again.
Gosh, can you imagine? I mean, this is us now. Can you imagine us as like, can you imagine me and like all my friends as like teenagers? We were obsessed.
That's why I'm so jealous. Like, I just had like David Boreanaz on my wall when I should have been having this guy.
Oh,
like...
but Angel. Yeah. I mean, literally, it's like Hrithik and then Jareth from Labyrinth. Yes! On that level.
Oh man, genuinely. And this is probably a lot healthier than Jareth.
Oh, because she's legal, because she's of legal age. that might help as well.
It's legal because, like, yeah, just
He doesn't have to steal her brother. You know,
no kidnappers involved.
just stealing, just crime, just heist, just robbery.
Normal crime. No, you're right. I think if what would suck as well is if he came over to Hollywood, you know for a fact he would be put in this sort of like tech geek role that's like minor in a big movie, and he wouldn't have the chance to showcase his range, and he wouldn't have the opportunity to like be given a leading role anytime soon. And like, you just know that would happen, and it would really suck, because that's what often happens when we like import, as it were, actors in who are like the height of their game where they are, and we're just like, yeah, you can be like the minor character in the corner, you're welcome. And it's like, brilliant.
It's
like
true,
mediocre.
but times are changing though, because if you look at people like Priyanka Chopra, who have done incredible work both here and still maintaining in Bollywood, I mean, you know, we are getting this change, thank God, in the industry of representation, and sort of embracing that, you know, the East is an other, it's just different.
Yeah.
And it's something that we can embrace, and that things we can learn from it. And, you know, I do think there will be a day where we do see a lot more Bollywood actors maybe crossing over, because again, the talent is there, and, you know, the ethic is there. I mean, if you want to talk about ethic, like Bollywood stars, they probably do twice as many films in a year for the most part than Hollywood actors do. You know, there's definitely room to cross over there, and I think they will. But I think as well, they don't need to, and they don't want to. Like, that's one thing. Like, Aishwarya Rai has done a lot of Western films, and I think Hrithik has done a couple as well. But the thing is, just, you know, Bollywood, the input is more. You get to do more films. Which means you get to explore more characters and develop your craft as an actor. You know, and it's just, you know, it's the biggest industry in the world.
Literally,
it's not
there's
necessary,
nothing to be jealous of over in Hollywood. Like, they have a brilliant industry where they are. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
But it's beautiful. But that's the wonderful. But I do think we will see more crossover. But I think, you know, that's the way the world is going. Thank God. It only took how many years have been filming around for? Like 100 years. It only took 100 years.
And like,
100 years to get Black Panther.
Brilliant. Just to sort ourselves out.
Why This Film podcast really brings up nostalgia for most of us. And speaking of nostalgia, have you ever wondered what your mom was like before you were born? Have you ever asked her questions like, what were you afraid of as a kid? Or, if you could choose your last words to me, Mom, what would they be? These are big and small questions, and ones you might not really think about until you can't ask them anymore. Hi, I'm Melissa, huge fan of Why This Film podcast, and I'm bringing all this up because after losing my mom unexpectedly, I realized how many things about her life and opinions and our family I didn't know or just didn't remember. So instead of just sitting on my pity pot, I wrote a journaling book that I can fill out for my daughters and you and your mom can fill out. It's called Questions You'll Wish You Asked, a time capsule journal for mothers and daughters. The book is available on Amazon, or you can call your local bookstore and ask them to order it for you. Ask those questions. Write down your answers. Your future self will thank you, I promise.
Yeah. Oh God, I just really loved it. Like, I really had a great time, and I really want to like show it to my friends and be like, can we watch this movie, because genuinely it's so much fun. And like, it was really interesting, I found, because the opening scene is in English, so I was like, oh, is this movie going to be spoken in English? Okay. But then the second scene started, and I had to like find my remote to be like, subtitles. Because they were talking, and I was suddenly like, I don't know what they're saying. It took me a long time, because I was getting the gist of it, but then I was like, no, I need to know what they're saying. So I put the subtitles on, and like similar to Lagan, I believe this happened. They'll switch, and every now and then they'll say a line in English, and the subtitles will be different to what they're saying in English, which again says to me that what I'm reading is not really what they're saying. So I wonder how different the intentions are. And it's just another reason that if I were to ever be given a superpower, it would be to know every language in the world. And I really found it interesting when they went over to Rio, and the twin sister couldn't speak to Jay because he was he speaking Hindi?
He was speaking Hindi, yeah.
Whereas Ali was speaking
I think they were both speaking Hindi. I think they were both speaking Hindi from what I gather. I think the thing is, I think that was just part of the joke of it, is that
right.
you know, Jay is very kind of and Ali's a lot more physical as well. So they were able to communicate like that. And there are, you know, I think again, there is this idea of like them speaking English and sort of understanding one another and sort of having that connection, the connection of love that transcends languages. Like if we can accept it in Pocahontas, we can accept it here.
Of course.
Like how she randomly starts speaking English to John Smith.
Because the leaves helped her out.
Of course. She could paint with the colours of Dhoom.
Perfect. Literally. But yeah, and that was just really interesting how she was like, you know, it's so lovely to have you here in Brazil, because I've not lost touch with my own culture, but I'm not, you know, I've been surrounded by Brazilians.
Incredibly hot Brazilian models, because that's all Brazil is apparently.
Yeah, that's what Brazil is. So again, there was a really lovely mixture of, like, I love watching a movie where there's a mixture of languages anyway. Like I loved when I went to see Warhorse on stage, and they insist that all the German scenes are spoken in German and all the French scenes are spoken in French, and there are no subtitles because you're on stage, but you're like, yes, this is good, like this is how it should be, this is good for us. And so it's always really lovely watching these movies where they're flipping in between. And I read somewhere that Sweetie Rimi Sen had to be dubbed over for a different, like, how many, I mean, is that a question that's going to lead to a million answers? How many languages are there?
There's loads in India. I mean, a lot, because remember as well, because at the moment we're mainly talking about Dhoom, which is a Hindi film, but these films get dubbed over in Tamil, some get dubbed in Punjabi and Gujarati. Like there's hundreds of Indian languages, you know. So that's the beauty of it, is that it can really translate to any culture and to any kind of system. So yeah, a lot of the songs, a lot of the movies get dubbed in Tamil. A couple get, and there's also Urdu as well, which is spoken in Pakistan as well. So you get, so you know, there is that kind of rich influx of different languages and culture.
But that's so fascinating, and we should know more about it. I'm so ignorant to it. Like, if, like, you know, I think, I'm genuinely so ignorant to it. I'm always just like, Asia. And I really
general Asia.
Like that way, because I don't want to say that like, because we used to say Indian, and then someone at some point I think was like, no, you need to say like Asian, because they might not specifically be from India, and Asia isn't just like Hong Kong and Japan. But and then you talk about all these different languages, and like, because we don't really have that, especially over here in the UK. We're so pathetic and terrible.
Well, we do have other languages, we just don't explore them. Like we have like Scottish and Gaelic and Irish and all these other things, we just and Cornish, but we don't ever fully embrace them, and we should, because you know it adds to the rich tapestry of our culture, and it makes the UK feel very lived in. Like I've often observed with British film that it's a very kind of set idea of what British life is like, and thank God that it's sort of evolving with Netflix and everything. But like, you know, this idea that we all live in London, which is kind of biased because I do live in London, but you know, we live in London, and you know, we all have like these either tiny apartments or these gargantuan houses, and you know, there's not really much outside of it. But that's the wonderful thing, is that with films like Dhoom 2, they do reach out to everybody, and they do make it accessible to everybody, so everyone can kind of get in on it, and it feels like a lived-in movie. Like it's their movie, it's their world, it's their culture out there, and it bridges the gap. And if we did that in the UK, I think it'd be brilliant.
Oh, it'd be so much better. There's such a rich, you know, people are obsessed with the UK because we have such a history. It goes back years and years and years, and we're always just like, as you say, like, London. Like, no, like, I live in Suffolk, and I am trying to write plays and films that look at the history specifically of that, and like, we have our own language that's like dead now, that only like a few people remember.
And your own culture, culture, like it may not be, you know, a huge shift from culture in London, but it's a culture, and it's yours, and it's a lived in world, and it deserves to be told on screen. It completely deserves to be told on screen.
So thank God for things like Netflix, for allowing like this type of thing to be greenlit and put forward and experimented with, and of course for just, they keep piling on like Bollywood movies and French movies and all of these different countries that do really fine works of cinema that like the main movie going audience, if they're just looking at like the top 10 cinematic releases, wouldn't. I mean, we saw the outcry last year when Best Picture winner was not American or English.
But Parasite deserved it.
Oh my God.
And you know, the director
So
said
good.
something in his Oscar speech that was really profound. It's like once you get over your lack of, once you get over reading subtitles, a whole new world is explored.
Genuine.
And I think our generation will be the ones that do that. I mean,
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, the number one, I think it's either number one or number two series currently on Netflix is Lupin, which is a French film.
Oh,
which is a
amazing.
French thing. You know, so I think we have to, I feel like the change is inevitable.
Yeah, it's
I feel like it has to be, because if we're going to continue to be artists in our industry and be an industry that's dedicated to telling the truth, no matter the genre, the truth is there is so much in the world to explore, and everyone's story is unique, and no one's got a homogenous experience. So we need to expand, and we will. I mean, you're watching a Bollywood film,
and I
bloody
loved it,
and you bloody loved it. And now you can go watch a Brazilian one or a French one, or go watch a Tamil film, because the Tamil films are different as well. So, expand that beautiful mind, and, it will inspire you. It will inspire you. It will. Like, that's the one thing I thank God every day that I was blessed to be mixed and live in London and have the cultures around me that I did, because it opened my eyes to the fact that there is no one way to do things. And it fueled my creativity, and it fuels my imagination as an actor and as an artist. And that's what we need to go forward.
Absolutely. Yes. Bravo. Yes. Like, amazing. Yes. When I was a kid, I think I was always like, I want to make sure that I marry someone like foreign, so my kids know more than one language and have access to more than one, like.
Do you know what drove me crazy is, so for people on the podcast who don't know, Emily and I first met because we worked at Kidzania.
For like 3 days.
But what I loved was that we had such an international team. But the thing that really got to me is that we were the only ones who spoke. All the English people could only speak English, but like the people from Portugal, he spoke like French and Spanish and Portuguese, and like somebody else could speak like 3 other languages. And it's like, we are so lacking in that department in the UK. It's quite shocking, and it's kind of arrogant, because
it's so arrogant, and it's a fall over from the whole empire that's still a thing. And once that generation dies, hopefully we can all just like apologize profusely to the entire world about being massive knobheads, rejoin Europe, and just be like, let's get Mandarin in our schools, let's get Spanish in our schools.
Absolutely. Like, if we're going to continue, especially because of everything that's happened with Brexit and everything, if the UK is going to continue to be a power player, we have to acknowledge, like we said, that the world is becoming more globalized, and we have to acknowledge that, especially with like the rise of China and India and all these other countries, that we do need to make a conscious effort to assimilate and not just view ourselves as the proud island. And I'm saying that as I love the fact that I'm British, and I love the fact that I'm from the UK, but we could be doing more, but we have to grow. That's the only real solution. You have to grow. And it's either, and really at this point, it's like assimilate or get left behind.
All we can do is educate and use Netflix to watch more stuff from different places. And
I mean, the moral is Netflix will change the world.
Literally, I genuinely think like it is. That's a YouTube video waiting to happen. Netflix.
Oh my God. Well, there was a joke in Parks and Recreation that was set, I think it's like 2027. It's like all the major conglomerates of the world are now like one unified company. And it's like McDonald's and Taco Bell and Disney are all one company. And I'm like, it's probably going to go that way.
It's coming. Disney pretty much own everything except McDonald's and Starbucks at the moment. But give it time. They owned McDonald's in the 90s because they had a contract with them, which is why all of the plastic toys you got from McDonald's were all Disney. But yeah, anything else about Dhoom 2? I'm going to just check my notes.
It's magical. It's mystical. It's everything you want in life. You really should try and we were talking about it before the show about doing a Bollywood remix of the theme song. Yes. I really think you should. I mean, having watched Dhoom 2 now and comparing it to Lagan, like, what is your takeaway about, I guess, Indian cinema and just the kind of the breadth of it? Like, what do you want to see kind of as a consumer of film and as an actress and an artist yourself? What do you want to see kind of going forward in terms of, just what you experience with Indian cinema and just what you want to see in global cinema? Like, what do you want to see going forward?
Wow, good question. genuinely, the two of them are side by side in terms of what I got out of them. I really loved seeing a part of my own country's history through the eyes of the country that we were essentially oppressing, like and seeing their beautiful country shown off by them, and like that was so enjoyable, and the historical aspect was so fascinating to me. That was gorgeous. This was so much fun. It's like the type of movie that I think if something came out like this in the cinema with that sort of synopsis and genre, I would be like, ew, no, like it just won't be good. And this was so good, like, because it was Bollywood. So I guess going forward, I am genuinely up for like anything. I think like they've proven already that they have such a ridiculous range, such an amazing breadth of ability to put out in cinema, and it's always going to have these song and dance numbers which I'm obsessed with. And so really, like, I'm probably just going to go through the actors' IMDb pages and like see what's on Netflix and just see what they've got. And I can't imagine that there's going to be a dud movie, because what will be recommended will be ones that are so high up anyway, chances are, that you're inevitably going to see incredible things. So I would love to see something completely different to the previous two things I've just seen, and like what they do with that. Just more. Like maybe I'll go back and revisit Bride and Prejudice and like see how that
why not
now.
Because that's still an experience. I mean, it's directed by a British Indian woman, but that's still a woman bringing her experience, and you know, like you said, making sure that every person's experience, whether they're actually in India or they're British Indian or American Indian or Indian American or whatever, gets fully realized. And I think the great thing about having seen the spectrum you've seen already with Lagan and now Dhoom 2 is you're really getting a sense of, you know, the way different Indians see India, and that, you know, Dhoom 2 is kind of a representation of, at least at the time, because those outfits are very 2000s.
Oh, they're
the
so
2000s. The mini skirts, the glossy lip gloss, all of it, and I live through it. You know, it is kind of a representation of, you know, contemporary India and what contemporary India is at the time. You know, there's the culture of Lagan, and, you know, there is still, you know, the village culture and everything, but there's also a commercial culture and a contemporary culture which is very accessible to you and very similar to the West, but is still maintaining its sense of authenticity and integrity. So I'm just really happy that you liked it, because, you know, I said, it furthers the dialogue about inclusion, and I'm so happy you liked it. I really am.
I would love to get further back in the history of Bollywood and see ones that are perhaps less influenced by Western ideals or trying to reach certain audiences, like really see what like classic Bollywood was like, which like
Mother India is a really good one for that. Mother India, brilliant movie, absolutely brilliant. It's a culture driven by emotion, and that's beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you so much for choosing this movie. Like, it's just been such a joy. Like,
and now you have a new crush. And now you have a new crush.
I'm going to go straight to the printer and just print out millions of photographs of this man and put them all around my room.
Gorgeous.
Like, he is going to have like a whole week of Instagram marketing dedicated to his face. Like, he is just...
Because doesn't your heart just break for him? Like, when he realizes that she's betrayed him and he's in like the clown costume, and then he's looking at her in the song, like, I will literally, like, my heart is broken. And then he's crying, and it's just like...
Oh my god,
what a man.
He's like so sensitive and understanding, but so athletic and such a good dancer. That's another thing I was gonna say. Like, I don't think it's much a thing anymore, but I know especially when we were growing up, there was this whole thing around like, oh, dancing for boys is like sissy or whatever, and it's like pathetic and it's not manly, and it's like it is the most manly thing you can do. Watching that man dance is... And I mean, I think Magic Mike maybe introduced that as a concept more over here to be like, actually, like, I think you'll find it's great. But genuinely, like, you're already in love with him, and then he starts dancing, and there is nothing cooler or sexier than a man that can dance.
Except to get a man who can, like, steal your heart and disguise himself, like in the museum.
Like, oh my gosh. And that's another thing, like, just this actor's range within this character of every time he showed up in a different disguise, and his mannerisms and his, like... like willingness to be like goofy because he's in disguise in public, and like just really great. And like there was that brilliant shot where he was walking towards Jay and he was like flashing through all the costumes that he'd been in throughout the movie, and I was just like, this is so good. And the amount of
His model portfolio.
yeah, literally like and there was like an initial conversation between him and Jay that felt very like Die Hard when Hans and John McClane like meet.
Yes, the tension there. And a little bit of like, I got a little bit of like sexual tension there. I don't know if that was just me. There's a little bit of like sexual tension.
And I think it's just this man,
Lord.
this blah, blah, blah.
Hrithik Roshan.
Yes. So do you not pronounce the H at the beginning?
Hrithik.
I
know, I just say Hrithik
Hrithik
Roshan.
Roshan. So gorgeous. I think just inevitably whoever's acting alongside him has some tension, because how could you not like?
Well, the thing is, and like you said with masculinity, is that, you know, what is masculinity, you know, and completely we're kind of deconstructing that all the time about being sensitive and being, you know, being athletic and proud. But Bollywood was doing that for years. Yeah. So it's just kind of funny. Again, it's the idea of like, again, it's sort of the Western ingrained arrogance, is that it took ages to catch up to that sense that, you know, dance is for everybody, and feeling beautiful and being vulnerable is what makes us human.
Exactly,
and there's no need to be ashamed of that, for sure. For sure.
Oh my god, you're coming back on, so you better get some films.
Oh, I already have one in mind, girl.
Oh, good. Because this has been so much fun, like so much fun.
It has been as well. It's just lovely also to see you as well. Like I said, I'm so happy for you and just everything you're achieving in this podcast. And I know that like God is going to take you to like some crazy places, girl. Like I cannot wait to see where you go. Like you are going to do incredible things.
Oh, thank you so much. That really means a lot to me. Like I'm just lifted and motivated now. It's amazing. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for you as well. Once this pandemic is over and you can like get back into proper swing of actor, you're gonna walk into a room and light the place up, and they're gonna be like,
amen, I receive it.
Literally, you're an absolute delight. You genuinely are.
So are you.
So lovely. Do you have anything to plug? I know there's not much going on at the moment, but do you have anything that we can refer to?
Just follow me on Instagram at @NIRobson, or on Facebook with my name, Naomi Robson. And yes, keep posted, because this is the year of greatness. I don't know what tune that is. I'm just going to go with it.
It's your tune.
It's my tune. And like, I'm just air applauding you because I'm so happy to be on the show.
I'm so happy to have you. And as I say, you're literally coming straight back. So like,
yes,
send me those movies. We'll get watching them.
Again, happy that you got a different cultural experience.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. Like genuinely, like I really didn't know what to expect, and every single time I am blown away, and I have such an enjoyable time. So I don't know why I'm not just like watching Bollywood all the time. Do you know what it is? I think it's because they're always like 2.5 hours long, and I'm like,
oh yeah, like Lagarde was 4 hours. So bless me.
I think I had to do that in like a few sittings, and I was like, oh, it's Bollywood, so it'll probably be like 9 hours long, and it's only 2.5. But
yeah.
A thrill the whole way through as well. Like I was never like checking the time. I was never like, oh god.
Well, that's what the name actually means. Like Dhoom, it's not actually like a word. It actually just means like excitement and noise. Yeah, that's what it means. Like it's not an actual defined word. It just means like excitement. It's why in the movie you keep hearing doom doom doom.
Yeah, I love that.
Doom doom. That's a drinking game.
Yes,
that is a drinking game in itself.
My God.
There are so many drinking games you could do to this movie.
I can imagine.
Drink for every 2000s reference.
Amazing.
Drink every time Hrithik Roshan. You should just be the only character in this film along with Aishwarya Rai.
God, yes. Oh my God. I'm gonna Google them and do them with people, because this was so much fun, and it's on Amazon Prime. So go and watch it. Steal a Prime login from a friend. Go and watch it. But thank you so much for coming on, and we'll see you next time on Why This Film. Bye.
Outro.